Emotional Intelligence for Leaders course. We are going to Module 7 now, and the topic of the Module 7 is Emotional Intelligence in Decision Making. Emotional Intelligence in Decision Making. This module is made up of 8 lessons, and the topic of the lesson 1 is the connection between emotions and decisions. The connection between emotions and decisions. As a leader, every choice you make has an impact. Some decisions are small, like adjusting a schedule or assisting a task. Others carry heavy weight, like shaping the future of a team, handling a crisis, or steering an entire organization. But here is the truth that many leaders overlook. Every decision is influenced by emotions. Whether you realize it or not, emotions act as silent partners in your thinking process. They are not random or irrelevant. Emotions are signals. They tell you what matters most to you. They alert you to opportunities, warn you of many things, especially risk, and remind you of your values. When you feel excitement, it may be a sign that something aligns with your vision. When you feel hesitation, it may be a signal to slow down and examine the details. The mistake many leaders make is believing that emotions should be completely removed from decision making. They think logic alone produces the best outcomes, but the truth is, ignoring emotions is just as dangerous as being controlled by them. A decision made without emotion may seem efficient, but it often lacks humanity, connection, and foresight. On the other hand, a decision made purely on emotion may feel right in the moment, but could backfire because it was not tested by reason. This is where emotional intelligence steps in. Emotional intelligence does not ask you to suppress emotions or let them dominate. Instead, it trains you to recognize emotions, understand them, and then manage them wisely. With this skill, you can identify what role emotions are playing in your decisions. You begin to ask yourself, why am I leaning towards this choice? Is it fear that is speaking? Is it excitement? Is it genuine conviction? Emotionally intelligent leaders know how to use emotions as valuable data. They do not push feelings aside, and they do not blindly obey their feelings. They listen, they interpret, and then they combine emotional insight with rational thought. This balance makes their decisions not only smart, but also meaningful and sustainable. When you grow in emotional intelligence, you stop seeing emotions as obstacles. You begin to see them as guides. Instead of you being accused or overwhelmed by how you feel, you become more self-aware, and that awareness gives you clarity. You are less likely to be manipulated by hidden fears or sudden impulses, and more likely to act with wisdom, balance, and confidence. So, here is the first lesson. Emotions are always part of decision making. You cannot escape them, but with emotional intelligence, you can harness their power. You can lead with both your head and your heart, and that combination makes your leadership stronger, makes your leadership wiser, and makes your leadership more impactful. Lesson 2. Balancing logic and emotion. Balancing logic and emotion. Every leader faces a constant tension, the pull between logic and emotion. On one side, logic demands facts, data, and structure. On the other side, emotion calls for intuition, empathy, and human connection. Many leaders make the mistake of choosing one side over the other. Some pride themselves on being purely logical, while others lean heavily on gut feelings. But the truth is, the best leaders know how to balance both. Logic is powerful. It gives you clarity. It helps you analyze numbers. It helps you weigh risk. And it helps you compare outcomes. Without logic, decisions become guesswork and organizations fall into chaos. But logic on its own can be cold. It may produce efficiency but ignore the human impact. A decision that looks perfect on paper can still damage morale, weaken trust, or hurt relationships if it lacks emotional sensitivity. Emotion, on the other hand, adds depth to decision making. It brings an intuition, creativity, and empathy. It helps you connect to the people who will live with your choices. Emotion reminds you that your decisions affect more than balance sheets. They affect lives, they affect families, and they affect futures. But emotions alone can also mislead. A decision made only on excitement, fear, or sympathy may feel right in the moment but crumble under pressure. That is why emotional intelligence is so important. Emotional intelligence, very, very important. It helps leaders integrate logic and emotion instead of seeing them as opposites. Emotionally intelligent leaders see them as partners. They allow logic to check emotion and emotion to humanize logic. For example, before finalizing a decision, a leader might analyze the data, then pause to ask, how will this affect my team? What will this mean for their motivation and well-being? That simple step transforms a cold calculation into a wise, balanced choice. Think of logic and emotion as the two wings of an airplane. If you only use one, the plane will crash. But when both wings are strong and working together, you soar. The same thing, a bird does not fly with one wing. Don't forget. Emotional intelligence ensures you are not blinded by numbers, nor are you swept away by feelings. You can see the whole picture. So here is the second lesson. Great leadership decisions come from the balance of head and heart. Use logic to ground your choices in reality. Use emotion to give them meaning and humanity. When you master this balance, your decisions become not only effective, but also respected, trusted, and remembered. Lesson 3. The cost of impulsive decision. The cost of impulsive decisions. In leadership, one of the greatest dangers is acting too quickly. When pressure mounts, deadlines loom, or emotions run high, it is tempting to rush into a decision. Sometimes leaders even feel that making a fast choice is a sign of strength, but the reality is very different. Impulsive decisions are often costly, damaging, and hard to reverse. Impulsiveness is usually driven by unchecked emotions. Anger can make a leader snap at a situation without thinking it through. Fear can make them retreat from opportunities. Over-excitement can lead to overcommitment. In each case, the decision is not guided by wisdom, but by the raw emotion of the moment. And what follows is usually regret. Think of a leader who quickly hires someone because they liked the person's energy in an interview, only to later discover that the candidate was unqualified. Or consider the executive who slashes budgets overnight because of panic, only to cripple the very departments that kept the company alive. These are the hidden costs of impulsiveness. Decisions made in a flash often create problems that take months, even years to fix. Emotional intelligence helps leaders to slow down. It teaches them to pause, to breathe, and to reflect before acting. That pause may not last a few seconds, but it creates space for clarity. Instead of reacting, you begin to respond. Instead of being controlled by emotion, you use emotion as information while allowing logic to have its voice as well. Avoiding impulsive decisions does not mean avoiding timely decisions. It simply means building discipline into your thinking. A wise leader asks, am I making this choice because it is truly the best option? Or because I am feeling pressured? Or because I am feeling anger? Or because I'm being afraid? Emotional intelligence allows you to name the emotion, evaluate it, and then decide with purpose instead of panic. The truth is, people trust leaders who are steady and thoughtful. When followers see that you do not rush blindly into decisions, they gain confidence in your leadership. They know you will not gamble recklessly with their future. That trust is one of your most valuable assets. So, here is the third lesson. Impulsive decisions weaken leadership credibility, but thoughtful decisions build it. Every time you pause and think before you act, you protect your integrity, you protect your organization, and you protect the people you serve. Lesson 4. Staying grounded in high-stakes situations. Staying grounded in high-stakes situations. Every leader eventually faces a high-stakes moment. It could be a financial crisis, a conflict within the team, a sudden change in the market, or a decision that will affect the future of an entire organization. These moments are often filled with pressure, uncertainty, and even fear. In such situations, emotions can easily overwhelm logic, and when that happens, judgment becomes clouded. But here is the truth. Great leaders are not the ones who avoid pressure. They are the ones who remain grounded under it. When emotions rise, stress hormones flood the body. The mind races, the heart beats faster, and decisions feel urgent. This is the body's natural fight or flight response. But for leaders, it can be dangerous. Acting too quickly under pressure may solve the surface problem, but create a bigger issue in the long run. Emotional intelligence provides the tools to stay steady when the stakes are high. The first tool is self-awareness. When you recognize the stress signals in your body and mind, you gain control over them. Instead of being swept away by adrenaline, you step back and say, if I'm under pressure, I feel anxious, but I am still in charge of my choices. The second tool is self-regulation. Emotionally intelligent leaders practice techniques to calm themselves before acting. This might mean pausing to breathe deeply, delaying a response until emotions settle, or seeking a moment of silence to regain clarity. These small actions prevent rash decisions and allow space for wisdom to emerge. Another key is perspective. Grounded leaders look beyond the immediate chaos and consider the bigger picture. They ask, what outcome do I want 1 year from now? How will my choice affect trust, loyalty, and long-term growth? This ability to see beyond the crisis separates impulsive leaders from wise leaders. Finally, emotionally intelligent leaders know the value of counsel. They do not isolate themselves in high-pressure situations. Instead, they seek advice from trusted voices. This does not show weakness, it shows maturity. By grounding themselves in both reflection and collaboration, they make decisions that are thoughtful, balanced, and strong. Followers naturally trust leaders who stay calm in the storm. When a leader keeps composure under pressure, it sends a message: we are safe, we are guided, and we will get through this. That confidence inspires loyalty and courage in the team. So, here is the fourth lesson. In high-stakes situations, staying grounded is not just about making good decisions. Rather, it is about showing stability and strength that others can depend on. Lesson 5. Improving judgment through emotional intelligence. Good judgment is one of the marks of a true leader. Teams may forgive mistakes, but they rarely forgive consistent poor judgment. The challenge is that judgment is not only about intelligence or experience, it is also deeply connected to emotional intelligence. Every leader sees the world through filters. These filters are shaped by past experiences, personal values, fears, and biases. For example, a leader who once failed in a new venture may become overly cautious in future decisions. Another who has tasted quick success may become overconfident and reckless. In both cases, the leader's emotions, whether fear or excitement, distort judgment. Emotional intelligence sharpens judgment because it increases self-awareness. When you know what emotions are influencing you, you can evaluate them instead of being ruled by them. Instead of asking only, what is the logic choice here? You also ask, what emotions are pushing me in this direction? Am I deciding out of fear, pride, anger, or wisdom? Judgment also improves through empathy. Leaders with high emotional intelligence consider how their decisions affect others. They do not just look at the numbers, they also weigh the human consequences. For instance, cutting costs may save money in the short term, but if it destroys team morale, it could weaken the organization in the long run. By factoring in emotions, both their own and those of others, leaders make choices that are not only smart but also sustainable. Another way emotional intelligence strengthens judgment is through perspective taking. It allows leaders to step outside of their own narrow view and see the bigger picture. They can imagine how different stakeholders will perceive their choices. They can evaluate not just immediate effects, but long-term consequences. This prevents short-sightedness, decisions that may look good today but create problems tomorrow. Emotionally intelligent leaders also practice reflection. Instead of moving from one decision to the next, they look back and ask, what worked? What failed? What emotions influenced me? How can I improve next time? This cycle of reflection turns every decision, whether good or bad, into a lesson that sharpens future judgment. At its core, judgment is not about perfection, it is about wisdom. And wisdom grows when leaders combine logic with emotional awareness, empathy, and perspective. So, here is the fifth lesson. Better judgment comes when you recognize the role emotions play in decision making and choose to lead with balance, empathy, and reflection. Leaders who master this are not just smart decision makers, they are wise decision makers. Lesson 6. Decision making and empathy. Decision making and empathy. One of the most overlooked aspects of decision making is empathy. Many leaders believe that leadership decisions should be purely objective, guided only by facts, policies, and numbers. While objectivity is important, Ignoring empathy can weaken leadership and create decisions that look good on paper but fail in practice. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. In leadership, this means recognizing how your decisions affect the people you lead. Every choice you make impacts not just results, but also morale, trust, and loyalty. Leaders who overlook empathy risk creating environments where people feel like tools instead of valued human beings. Consider a leader facing the challenge of restructuring a team. Without empathy, the decision might be made purely from a financial standpoint. Cut staff, reduce costs, and increase efficiency. But an empathetic leader takes a deeper view. They ask, how will this affect the people involved? How can I communicate this with respect and transparency? Are there creative alternatives that protect both people and performance? The end result may still involve tough calls, but empathy ensures that decisions are handled with fairness and dignity. Empathy also strengthens collaboration. When people know their leader considers their perspective, they are more willing to give their best. Trust grows and communication becomes easier. In contrast, when leaders ignore the human side of decisions, resistance and resentment often arise, even if the decision is logically sound. Another power of empathy in decision making is foresight. Leaders who practice empathy are able to anticipate emotional reactions before they even happen. They know how people are likely to feel and prepare strategies to support them. This proactive approach reduces conflict and increases acceptance of change. Some leaders fear that too much empathy makes them weak, but the truth is, empathy does not mean avoiding tough decisions. It means making tough decisions with humanity. Empathy does not replace logic, it enriches it. It ensures that choices are not only effective, but also ethical and sustainable. So here is the sixth lesson. Empathy turns decisions into leadership. It bridges the gap between what is smart for the organization and what is right for the people. And when leaders combine clear reasoning with genuine empathy, they build stronger teams, they build deeper loyalty, they build lasting influence. Lesson 7. Practical strategies for emotionally intelligent decision making. Practical strategies for emotionally intelligent decision making. By now, we have seen how emotions shape decisions, how balance improves judgment, and how empathy strengthens leadership. But theory is not enough. Leaders need practical strategies they can apply every day. Emotional intelligence is not just something you understand, it is something you practice. Here are 7 strategies that will help you make better decisions through emotional intelligence. First, pause before deciding. In moments of stress or urgency, the instinct is to act immediately. But wise leaders know that even a brief pause can prevent costly mistakes. A few minutes or even a few seconds can be enough to calm emotions and bring clarity. Second, label your emotions. Whenever you feel pressure, take a moment to identify what you are actually feeling. Are you anxious? Are you frustrated? Are you hopeful? Or are you fearful? Naming emotions reduces their power over you. It creates distance between the feeling and the action, allowing you to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Third, seek multiple perspectives. Emotionally intelligent leaders do not isolate themselves. They listen to different voices, especially when emotions run high. Trusted advisors, mentors, or team members can provide angles you may not have seen because of your own biases or stress. Fourth, ask about long-term consequences. Emotions often push us to focus only on the immediate moment, but great leaders think beyond today. Ask yourself, what will this decision mean in 1 month, 1 year, or 5 years? Will I be proud of it later? This perspective often shifts choices from reactionary to visionary. Fifth, balance head and heart. Do not let logic drown out emotion, and do not let emotion overpower logic. Instead, put them in conversation with each other. Check the data, then ask how people will be affected. Listen to your heart, then confirm it with facts. This balance creates well-rounded decisions. Sixth, reflect on past decisions. Every leader has made both good and bad choices in the past. Emotional intelligence grows when you take time to reflect. Ask yourself, what emotions influenced me? Did they help or hurt? What can I learn for next time? Reflection turns past experiences into wisdom. And finally, seventh, communicate with clarity and compassion. A decision is not complete until it is communicated. Emotionally intelligent leaders explain the logic behind their choices and show empathy for those affected. This builds trust even when the decision is difficult. These strategies may sound simple, but their power lies in consistent practice. The more you apply them, the more natural they become. Over time, they transform your leadership style, making you not just a decision maker, but a wise, balanced, and trusted leader. So here is the seventh lesson. Emotional intelligence in decision making is a skill you develop step by step. By pausing, reflecting, and balancing head with heart, you create decisions that are thoughtful, effective, and deeply respected. Lesson 8. Real-life example of emotional intelligence in decision making. Real-life example of emotional intelligence in decision making. Theory becomes more powerful when we see it in practice. Imagine a leader in the middle of a financial crisis. The numbers are clear. Costs must be cut or the organization will not survive. The purely logical choice might be to immediately lay off a large portion of the staff to save money. It is efficient, it is fast, and it makes sense on paper. But an emotionally intelligent leader sees more than numbers. They recognize that behind every position is a person, a family, and a future. So instead of rushing into layoffs, they pause. They analyze options with both head and heart. They may explore temporary pay cuts, voluntary leaves, or restructuring plans that share the burden more fairly. Even if some layoffs become unavoidable, the emotionally intelligent leader handles them differently. They communicate with honesty and compassion. They explain why the decision had to be made. They thank the individuals for their contributions, and they offer support such as recommendations, connections, or severance packages. What is the result? The organization survives the crisis, but more importantly, trust remains intact. The employees who stay behind see a leader who values people as much as profits. Morale does not collapse because the team knows the decision, while painful, was made with integrity and empathy. This is the difference emotional intelligence makes. The decision itself may still be hard, but the way it is handled changes everything. People respect leaders who combine logic with compassion, and in the long run, such leaders create cultures of loyalty and resilience that can wither any storm. So here is the 8th lesson. Real life leadership is not about avoiding tough decisions. It is rather about handling them with wisdom, with empathy, and with emotional intelligence. Now let's summarize all about this module. Let us bring everything together. First, emotions are always present in decision making. You cannot escape them, but you can learn to use them wisely. Second, the best decisions come from balance. The balance between logic that grounds choices and emotion that gives them meaning. Third, impulsive decisions are dangerous. Leaders must pause, they must reflect, and they must regulate emotions before acting. Fourth, in high-stakes situations, emotional intelligence keeps leaders grounded and steady, inspiring confidence in others. Fifth, judgment improves when leaders are self-aware, empathetic, and willing to reflect on both logic and emotion. Sixth, empathy turns decisions into leadership. It ensures that choices are not only effective, but also fair, humane, and sustainable. Seventh, practical strategies such as pausing, labeling emotions, seeking perspectives, and reflecting on past decisions build consistent wisdom. 8. Real life leadership demands decisions that are both tough and compassionate. So emotional intelligence allows leaders to make those decisions without losing trust or humanity. So here is the final lesson of this module. Emotional intelligence transforms decision making from a cold calculation into a wise, balanced act of leadership. It empowers you to lead with clarity, with strength, and with heart. This completes Module 7, Emotional Intelligence in Decision Making. Now, let's study some other real-life examples. Let's read them and then attempt the 10 quizzes. Thank you very much for listening.